coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, 16th of December, 9:20 in the morning, and it's 53, high of 65, and um, we're going to have a low of 47. That's really cold for us. The weather's going to stay the same, more or less. I see rain coming on Friday, they're predicting, but 40% chance that could happen or not happen. And then next week we're going to drop in temperature a few degrees, and they're predicting more rain for Wednesday. But it's really iffy if they go out more than 2 days or 3 days. It's very iffy if you're actually going to get the rain. So it's been dry in Israel this winter, which has been pleasant because it's not that cold and I can get a lot of outside time. And okay, I'm going to go into the live stream and put my posts up and make sure that we got sound and picture. And then we'll get into. Okay, I'm going to live stream. Well, we got sound and picture. A few people are coming in already. Let me do my posts, which takes not long at all, a minute or two, I guess. Whoops. Not long. And I'll put my email up. And that'll take a few seconds, is it? And we're almost done. Alright, and pin this up. And that's it, we're good. Alright, you can feel free to sell my house. Well, that seems to be a ridiculous comment. I don't know what that means. I don't own the house, I rent the house. Get rid of it. This person's nasty. Let me just remove it. Can't sell a rented house. Sell your okay. This is a jackass. Doesn't know the scriptures. Dump that one. And there'll be more garbage coming in here. Okay. The only thing that works here is using scriptures to rebuke, by the way. Everybody has an opinion. They're like noses. Everybody's got one, okay? So, you know. If you think it, I'm not even going to respond to this person. It's just ridiculous. Okay, I'm going to do some praise. Being a Bible-believing site, there is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Let me just discuss what we're going to cover. The drones is a big deal. It's all over the media. In Israel, it's near non-existent in the media. See, the Israelis tend to focus much on Israel and the surrounding countries in the Middle East. They tend to focus precious little on what goes on in Asia, North, South America, even in Europe. They're a little interested, like Ukraine, because a lot of Russian people live here, but it's mostly they're concerned with Israel, and that's rather understanding as well. Okay, if there's people like that nasty poster that think the way it's supposed to work is the people that preach the gospel are supposed to be starving, and you're not supposed to give, you know, the scripture says if you get the spiritual food, the spiritual from the person teaching, you're supposed to give the carnal things. And if you're not getting the spiritual things, get lost. Don't be here. Why do I don't need you? You're nasty. And you don't know your Bible. It also says don't muzzle the ox when he treads the grain. Okay? And the apostles said, what are we supposed to do? Sit here and take care of the feeding of the people? Or should we go and get a job and ignore spreading the gospel? So when people tell you things like sell your possessions and stop begging, they're enemies, okay? They may not know they're enemies, but they're enemies of the gospel because they don't want somebody preaching the true gospel like me. They want the false preachers preaching the gospel, and they would prefer to see me stop preaching and go to work and get a job. Okay, so this is what you get with these people. And sadly, over 90% of the people that come in here on a regular basis practice this. And that's fine. In a few days or weeks or maybe a few brief months, we'll see how they fare as things progress. Let's see how they do. Okay? Because that's covetousness, you see. And money is the root of all evil, and it goes to covetousness. Okay? And that's the theme of Ananias and Sapphira to a great extent. And that's them. And that's how they're going to be, and I'm not going to change them. That's it. That's just how it is. Okay? And that's why even the churchianity, false teachers, don't really ask for offerings because they probably don't get much, okay? But what they do is they sell stuff, and they sell garbage. They put fear in the hearts and minds of the people, and they sell them shortwave radios, survival food, which is garbage. Give them fear about nuke attacks and EMP attacks, and buy pills for nuclear attacks, and buy EMP protective things, and this is what they do. Okay, they're making merchandise out of people. Would I say God's people? Well, that's maybe a stretch. Some of them might be God's people for sure, absolutely, but they're just making merchandise out of anybody in the name of God. And what did the Bible say? Freely you have received, freely you shall give. You see, if you start selling items, okay, at the same time as you're preaching the gospel, let's say they had an anointing from the Lord, which is not the case, and they were using the anointing to draw people in, and then sell them commercial goods, even if they were neutral, like buy a coffee cup with my name on it, or buy a sweatshirt or a hat or something like that. They're still making merchandise out of God's people, but what these people do is they twist the scriptures, okay? And by twisting the scriptures, they create fear in the people that listen to them, and then they conveniently sell them goods that line up with the fear. Like, oh, get your IRA converted to gold and silver, or buy gold and silver. Here's a great company that's sponsoring the video. Survival Foods sponsoring video. EMP protection attack equipment sponsoring a video. Survival Gear sponsoring a video. You know, this is what they do. Okay? So they promote the fear. Some of them are even saying that they're Bible believers, and they're talking about the drones being UFOs. Now, to believe that, you got to not be a Bible person, because there's nothing in the Bible about life on the stars, or you want to call them the other planets. Plus, they're ignorant of the firmament. You can't get through the firmament. And on the other side of the firmament is water. Read Genesis 1. Okay? You can't penetrate the firmament. Angels could pass. It's a God, Yeshua, but they can't. Ships can't pass. Drones can't pass. It's just sheer insanity. And the people believe them. And why do the people believe them? Because they use witchcraft, sorcery, spells, enchantments. They impute that to the people in the videos, and then the people fall for it. They get sucked in because they give place to the devil. You know, this is the problem. And they keep the people ignorant. And the people, none of them out there, and I've been doing this for, I think, 12 years, none of them are really ever, none of them, the big ones, are preaching the daughter of Babylon is America, and they should be, but not a single one is. See, they want the whore system, because what is the whore system based on? False churches and false religions, right? Phony money supply, right? Trying to dominate the world, and a false Israel. We don't have a real Israel. First of all, they had no right to change the land, the name to the land of Israel, because we didn't have the 10 tribes and we didn't have all the land. So God refers to the land as Judah and Jerusalem, but they changed it to Israel. Okay? And they've never had a leader serving God ever, in my opinion, in the nation of Israel since 1948. The opposite of serving God. And Israel does many, many things that are against Scripture, like those parades through Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, giving the women in the military up to 3 abortions when they're in the military. All a woman in Israel has to do to get an abortion is go to the clinic, the hospital, or whatever, or the doctor, and say, well, I'm pregnant and I don't believe it's from my husband. It's all confidential medical records, and boom, she gets an abortion. And they don't tell anybody. There you have it. You know, I could keep going. The things they do, they follow the Talmud, not the Bible. They say the Talmud overrides the Bible. It's an extra biblical book. They downplay they're basically kicking against the Bible, the real Bible, the Old Testament. They don't believe in the New Testament either. They're kicking against the Old Testament and saying, no, the real Bible is the Talmud, which apparently they wrote. They say Moses gave the written law to the nations, the heathens, to throw them off. And the real law was the oral law, which is the Torah. Yet they were so nice, they took the oral law and wrote it down. Okay? And made it into a written law. So which written law? See, it's ridiculous. And they call it the Talmud. And that's what they follow. And it has very interesting things in it, like kill your enemy before he kills you. And then they have Yeshua is not the Messiah. He's not the Son of God. He's not a prophet. He didn't rise from the dead. They call him a false prophet, and they even in places refer to him as a witch. They're taught that if you put a New Testament in your house, you bring a curse on your house. Oh, I could preach Yeshua right out of the Old Testament. I don't need the New Testament. But they don't believe in the Old Testament. They believe in the Talmud. So once, many years ago, I was in AOL, I think it was, and they have these chat rooms, and I used to open up the chat room about, I don't remember what I called it. I can't, Bible or Messianic, I don't know. And a guy came in who was an Orthodox Jew, and he started asking me questions about being Jewish to see if I was really Jewish. So I answered his questions. And then he was debating me, you know, I shouldn't tell people about Yeshua and stuff like that, when he realized I was Jewish, you know. And then I told him I was a cone, and that didn't go over too well. I think I told him that. Not sure on that one anymore, but I said to him I would engage him in a debate, and since you don't believe in the New Testament, I will not use that debate. This is regarding who the Messiah is. And because I don't believe in the Talmud, you won't use the Talmud. So we'll just use, you know, basically Genesis to Malachi. And he refused to do it with me. He didn't know how. You ever see any of them hecklers come in here and present a good argument to kick against me? I've never seen it. Are there people out there that in the church world that can do it? No. They don't have the Holy Spirit. You can't do it without that. They can't. I've never seen them do it. Okay? And you know, I've taught you many times what they do when you ask them a question and they can't answer the question. What you do is you stop and you say, if you're not going to answer my questions, I'm not going to answer yours. You can't answer my question. And leave it at that. That's what Yeshua said. If you don't answer my question, I won't answer yours. When he asked them, whose John the Baptist's baptism was of who, you know, and they were afraid to answer it. So it's the same thing with them. They're completely absurd. Their doctrines and their narratives are like coming out of a comic book, and they have no scriptural basis whatsoever for what they teach, and they prey on the ignorant, and those are ignorant because they don't study their own Bible, or they're not the elect, and they can't understand the Bible. They just can't understand it. That's what you have to understand. Remember, it said if Satan understood who Yeshua was, he never would have had him killed. Of course, Satan was behind that. And if he knew the scriptures, he would have known who Yeshua was. You know, so let's see what I got in the chat. What kind of garbage is coming in. Today may be garbage day. All right, we'll start tossing. Universal laws and way. I have no idea what those are. I don't think anybody here does. All right, let's try to cover the subject matter, and then we can go off on tangents. I do have a prayer request from initials AZ, Alpha Zebra, AZ Alpha Zebra. Prayer requests for a homeless rescue dog, I believe, homeless rescue dog with a bunch of puppies. That this dog would be rescued and the puppies. Apparently, this person's attached to this dog. She had 12 puppies. She lost at least one of them so far. And the prayer is that this dog gets a good home and the puppies get good homes. Okay? This is the person's initials are AZ. And we have had a lot of success with praying for dogs and other animals. Okay. So there was an attack by Israel last night in Syria that hit a base around Tarshish. It was a base, a military supply dump, ammo dump, weapons dump. And we hit it. And the explosion caused, I don't know what was in the base or the ammo dump or whatever it was that we hit. It was pertaining to military munitions left by the Syrian army. I don't think this was Russian army stuff, maybe, but I think it was Syrian. Apparently, the secondary explosion or the actual bomb registered a 3.0 on the Richter scale as if it was an earthquake. So when you see these guys that sell you prepper supplies and survival food that say they're believers, they talk about explosions in North Korea and other places which register on the Richter scale. And I've told you before, they're not nukes. You can get a Richter scale register with big explosives, conventional explosives, and that's what happened last night in Syria. And that's proof positive that you can get this from regular explosions. And all these prepper people are constantly hitting on you with the nukes, you know. If these characters running the world had nukes, they would have used them many times before. What do you think? They're such logical people. Russia is now telling their citizens not to travel to the U.S. or the U.K. around Christmas, and I believe it was also Canada. That I'm not 100%, but I think it was Canada too. But definitely not to go to the UK or the US around the Christmas holidays. So Russia did not tell the people that are Russian living or Russian origin living in America to leave. He said don't travel there. So that could mean something Putin's afraid of or doesn't want to see these people hurt, or it could mean Putin's just trying to scare people, which is what Putin does. Putin is very much like Iran. He tries to get everybody to believe him that he's so powerful, and he doesn't display any such power. Ukraine whoops him, he whoops Ukraine, they go back and forth. That's what Ukraine. Okay? The only way I think we're going to cut wood here on trying to figure out what's up with the drones is to rely on Bible prophecy to guide us. Okay? Let's digest a few things. The drones even appeared over Washington, D.C., a good amount of them the other day, and there was no mass evacuation. I have no idea if Biden was in the White House or not, but they weren't getting the Congress out and the Supreme Court, and, you know. So based on that, I would ascertain that the American military understands that these are not weaponized drones. They could probably ascertain that because they have a great deal of experience. They have high resolution cameras and videos of them, and they probably came to the conclusion they're not weaponized. Okay? These drones appear from around 5:30 p.m. to midnight, now every day, all over the United States, plus the UK and Germany. So if it was a false flag like that, why would they be appearing in the UK and Germany? And why would China a few days ago said they have the drones in China too? They have the drones in China too because they probably really have the drones. And they flew a bunch around China to get people to see them. And they said, well, we're getting it too, to throw the guilt away from them. Okay? Remember the balloons a year or two ago flying over America, how there was just a few of them, but it freaked people out. They took one down in the ocean and everything else. I remember that. Well, we felt that was China for doing that, right? And once I think they took two of the balloons down, it stopped. It didn't happen anymore. Now, how is China provoking North Korea? They did it again yesterday. They surrounded North Korea, encircled it with a bunch of warships. Usually it's 5 to, the high was 19, I think. And then they fly a whole bunch of planes over restricted Taiwan airspace. So Taiwan's thinking, oh, we're going to get attacked, and they never get attacked. They're wearing them down. And they're getting them to think, including the military, oh, this isn't going to be an attack. But they do respond to it as if it's a real attack every time. But it still wears them down, and it puts the people in Taiwan under great pressure. Because they don't know when one day it's going to happen, and they're going to actually attack. That gives China an element of surprise. But they encircled Taiwan by air and sea repeatedly. They must have done it 30, 40, 50 times in the last 2 years. Now, I see a similar pattern here with the drones. No attacks, fear, panic, distress, makes the government appear weak. Makes the Taiwan government appear weak because they can't repel the warships and the planes. They don't shoot them down. You're getting a similar thing going on in the United States. Iran has 2 ships that were merchant marine vessels. I think they were container ships. And they modified the ship. These are probably about 500-foot boats. They're not small. They modified the boats to make a flat deck, similar to an aircraft carrier, but it's not an aircraft carrier. They have no aircraft that can take off and land on these boats. No manned aircraft. That's not what they're for. They're for drone launching. The boat is rather large and can probably hold a pretty large amount of drones inside the decks, and then they bring them up on the deck, and I believe they have a ramp. So the drone sort of taxis and then goes up the ramp and then out over the water. And it's flying. But then these drones have a lot of high, it's called high lift. They have, like, it's an aircraft term, they're easy to fly. Like in World War II, if you watch movies, documentary films of the aircraft carrier planes that were propeller, they had superchargers on the planes and stuff. And they had, by the end of the war, they had planes going over 330 miles an hour, I think, or about that fast, that were propeller. The beginning of the war, they weren't that fast, but they had no trouble taking off because the planes weren't that heavy and they had a lot of lift. So they didn't have to go to the end of the runway. They just took off. It was easy as pie to get those things in the air. Very easy. And landing them was pretty easy too. Jets is a problem. You know, many countries don't have a catapult system on the aircraft carriers like America does. So they're basically catapulting the plane down the runway. Plus the jet engines are on, so the combination of the two get these heavy planes going fast enough to go off the deck and lift up. But when you watch the pilots taking off, they put their hand on the ejection lever, which is usually overhead, and they keep it on there while they take off. In case something goes wrong, they have maybe a max of 2 seconds, maximum, probably one and a half, to pull that lever and get the ejection and get thrown out. And if they're reasonably over the water and they get the ejection going, the hope is that they would have enough time to open the chute even briefly and slow them down so the impact when they hit the water isn't so great. Pilots often get hurt in ejection. They could bang something with their body on the way out or whatever, but it certainly beats the alternative. So the idea is that the plane will get a little bit of altitude, maybe 200-300 feet before trouble starts, and at a height like that, they pull the ejection. I guess they pick up 60-100 feet. They probably can get several seconds of floating down with an open parachute to slow things down. But so most countries don't use the catapult. It's complicated and expensive. So they have a ramping up takeoff deck, which interferes with the, let's say, crisis or wartime functionality of the aircraft carrier. In America, the aircraft carriers are straight. So these, let's call them runways, can be used to, any of them, can be used to capture an incoming jet where it usually has a hook and hits a cable, sort of the reverse of the catapult, and it slows the plane down and the plane stops. Where when you're dealing with an aircraft carrier with the ramp, you can't use it to land the plane because the plane would have to land on the ramp and then it would accelerate its speed going downhill. So it slows down the efficiency of the aircraft carrier operating. But you see, there's theories that are saying America is doing this. They're sniffing for radioactive, dirty bombs, whatever, around America. Well, that is a theory that will only play well with people that don't have a lot of logic, okay? Why? First of all, if America was really doing that, the drones would probably be flying during the day. They wouldn't probably send more than 1 or 2 drones over a base, okay? And they wouldn't be sending them all around people's houses and civilian areas and various industrial sites and so forth. And why? And then you got to cover there in UK and Germany too, and possibly other countries. And they wouldn't do it in such a way as to scare the people. What these drones do is they turn their lights on. Then an aircraft helicopter, an American military helicopter pilot tried to give chase to one of these, and what it did, he got about a mile away from it. Oh, I think it was a police helicopter, sorry. And police helicopters go 150 to 178 miles an hour. Military has helicopters that can go somewhat faster than that. Maybe they could go another 50, 75 miles an hour faster or something. And the drone shut its lights and took off, and the police copter could not catch it, so it was faster than 150 miles an hour. Now that's, we've had our experiences with drones in the last year, 14, 15 months here in Israel. They almost never go that fast. They don't go that, they usually are going under 100. And our helicopters have no trouble getting them. See, we're shooting roughly a 3-inch rocket off of our helicopters with a pod of rockets that we can guide and hit. And the range is several miles, not a mile. So even if we were in a mile of it, we just fired a couple of rockets at it, and once we got a target lock, they'd probably blow the drone up. These things have 7 to 10 foot wingspans, so they're not like this, where you're not going to detect it on radar and you're not going to pick it up. These things are the size of a small car, or some say they're as big as an SUV. Maybe we could compromise and say they're the size of a small SUV, I don't know. Maybe there's different sized drones. So it's against the law in America to fly a drone at night and not have the running lights on. So they turn their running lights on frequently so people know they're there. That has the effect of creating panic. Okay? Okay? So they don't have to go out and pass another law, as some of the false flag fans are talking, saying, oh, they just want to do this to scare us so there won't be any more drone flights. From anybody. Well, I imagine the drones are a harassment to the elite. If you were an elite musician or actor or performer or politician, if you were the head of some company that made baby cribs or clothes hangers and you made, $3 million a month every month for 20 years and you were very, very wealthy, the public wouldn't know who you are from a hole in the wall, okay? But if you're on the TV, they know who you are, okay? So you do have heads of industry like Bezos of Amazon and the Microsoft guy and quite a few others, Elon Musk. They are targeted by paparazzi who use drones. So let's say you're living in, I don't know, Beverly Hills or Malibu, which has the bad fires, and you got a nice, house on an acre or two, and you got a pool, and you go and you sit down outside your pool and sunbathe or just take a nap or work, whatever, and a drone flies by, they could film you, okay? and they're filming the elite, and the elite don't have their makeup on, they don't have everything done. So they're going to look uglier and they're going to look older. Okay? So when I look at this whole picture, I don't understand why people are thinking that America is doing this. I don't think America is doing this. America creates enough panic. You know, the people that, you know, the survival prepper, doomsday sites that have huge following are out there. You know, we got nuclear planes in the air. The nuclear planes are what sniffs for nukes. Now the same people are saying the drones are doing it. It's ridiculous. Um, and you know, so let's go back to things we know. We're really rather sure China sent the balloons a couple of years ago, and we're very sure Biden left the borders open on purpose for a motive. He has a reason for that. And the reason for that is obviously either the changing of the United States severely or destroying it, or both. There's no getting around that. There's no good reason for these aliens. Trump even admitted there could be 30 million. Border Patrol retired people are going up to 50 million. Go with Trump at 30 million. 60 to 70% are coming by themselves as military age males. Go with 60%. That gives you 18 million illegals, migrants, whatever they call them. Some may have filed for amnesty, that are in the United States. The government flies them in from some countries if they need amnesty. Right from outside the United States, the government flies them in. They fill out the amnesty paperwork on the phone on an app, and they give them a ticket. They don't have to go buy a ticket, or they give them a visa, or maybe they give them both. I don't know. They give them a visa on the internet, and then they just come into America, and then they move them around in different cities and wrecked cities. I never heard they got rid of the Venezuelan street gangs that were operating in various states some months ago, taking over apartment buildings and stuff. I haven't heard that's over with. Biden left the door to the border open, and that's destroying America and their sleeper agents. And yet, these survival people that almost always tell you they're a Christian, oh, Ezekiel 38, they're not telling you it's the daughter of Babylon. They're not telling you that America's been invaded already, which it has. They're not telling you how easy it is for these people to get weapons in America. They're not telling you how easy it is for other countries like China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia to fund and send people across the border, which is child's play to get into America, and then buy, machine parts and machining tools, molds, and all these machines with lasers that make parts, and set up warehouses, and they buy raw materials and make things like drones. So the Iran ships that launched drones, I forgot to tell you, last time they were seen in, they went down to the Red Sea about a week ago. They were down there near Yemen. So they might be helping Yemen attack ships. I have no idea. Is it possible that they went through the Red Sea, out the Suez Canal, into the Mediterranean, into the Atlantic, and then got close to America. Well, the time frames aren't so good on that one, no. But I do not believe that Iran has the capability to send ships on big trips like 4, 5, 6,000 miles. I don't think they're that well set up. Well, these drone boats are to attack Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, you know, not to go travel around the world. Iran doesn't have an expeditionary force navy. They just don't have it. They don't have it. So I don't believe it's Iran. And Russia doesn't play this way. The only one that plays this way is China. And you look at what they're doing to Taiwan with the ships circling it and the aircraft flying in. Well, Taiwan would shoot the drones down, so they're not going to play the drone game there. You see, we're coming to critical mass. It's a little more than 4 weeks, and Trump gets sworn in. And there's a lot of entities that don't look forward to that. The Muslim terrorist-oriented states in Israel, in the Middle East, are not looking forward to it. Russia is not looking forward to it. China, North Korea are not looking forward to it. Other countries are not, because Trump's going to stop them from using the BRICS payment system, the digital payment system, because that's going to have to be conducted outside of US dollars and outside of the euro. And America doesn't want that. So if these countries are participating with BRICS to buy and sell oil, not in US dollars, Trump says he'll attack the country with sanctions that's doing this. Now that doesn't necessarily mean just the seller. It can mean the buyer too. Okay? With 100% tax. So BRICS knows that their herd is going to be thinned a lot if Trump does this, which he would. Trump is the sanctions king. So the motive here is probably China doing it and America just letting it happen. See, if they do a false flag, remember the false flags we had many years ago? They were shooting attacks at marathons, at a school and other things. And things got, I don't really know if they were all false flag attacks, but a lot of the false flag reporters, people that follow this were saying they were. But it was not designed to make the government look weak. These false flag attacks were designed to create fear in the people. The attacks, if you want to call it that, with the drones, is designed to invoke fear in the American people. And the government is portraying itself as helpless against the threat. Are they not? They are. The FBI says, we don't know. Pentagon, we can't do anything. We don't know. They outrun our planes. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Yet there they are. So it's going to cause people to lose faith in their government. Why are we paying all these taxes and the government is not up on its game enough to stop these drones? What's up with that? The logic is flawed. The government could close the border if they want to. How long would it take Biden to shut all the borders? Maximum a month. Never did it. They're still flocking in, flying in, rolling in. Okay? And we know Biden is letting that happen. He wants to get a law passed in Congress to give them amnesty. That could be up to 30 million or more people get amnesty, and how is Trump going to throw them out? The great Trump hopers are relatively sure after Trump takes his hand off the Bible, he's going to start getting rid of the illegals. But if they get amnesty by law, I don't think it means they got to go down and sign papers and submit for amnesty, because it's talking about many millions of people. So what it'll do is just give them blanket amnesty for coming in illegal. And now how does Trump get rid of them? Well, he has to go to the new legislature and get them to pass a law overturning what Biden did. That's generally not easy. It's possible. Trump needs to have a legal basis to get rid of them. And if Biden declares amnesty on all of them, carte blanche, Trump has no legal basis to get rid of them. Mainstream media has talked freely about Biden's intent to have legislature passed to give them amnesty, and the numbers tend to be around 12 million, their estimate, but it's much higher. Now we know in the daughter of Babylon some things are going to happen. The agricultural workers from other countries are going to go back to the land they came from for fear of the sword. Now if these drones start attacking, which they could have small explosives, they could have guns, chances are the Americans have analyzed these things with pictures, and probably they're not armed drones. If you were just going to do reconnaissance drones, you were another country that hates America, and all you wanted to do was recon military sites, you wouldn't do things like have 30 drones chase a 47-foot Coast Guard rescue boat with the lights on. You wouldn't fly over American military bases and put the lights on and let the whole world see you doing it. You would have the lights out, and you would send 1 or 2 drones to sweep the areas of the base you were concerned with and then get it out of there. This is not reconnaissance. This is designed to let the people know the drones are there. That's why the lights are on. And then when helicopters or something comes to try to get too close to them, they shut the lights and accelerate with great speed and get out of there and get lost. And this is a fear creation tactic. And Biden is playing into it by not doing anything about it, which is the same thing that he does with the open border. Let me check the chat, because I think we got sure didn't say he came to bring peace? Could artificial intelligence have something to do with it? It's possible, but not that likely. Iran doesn't use the regular banking system because they're under sanctions like other countries, like North Korea. Am I real? It says they are all in the dark. Well, I don't think they're all in the dark. I think they know a lot more than they're telling us. But all the mainstream media, CNN and Fox and all the big ones are running with the story, so they want the story spread. Okay? And why? It's creating fear. Why do they want to create fear? That's the $1,000,000 question. The people are going to come to a couple of conclusions. One is the government is inept and cannot deal with the problem, and that's scary. The second thing the government's going to come up, that the people are going to come up with, is the government is doing it on purpose, intentionally, to scare the people for some reason. And that will scare the people. So the net effect, any way you slice the cake here, is either a foreign power is doing it or the American government is doing it. And since the American government is not fessing up to them doing it and not telling us who's doing it, yet it's still taking place, it's creating fear in the American people rather quickly. Now, if these drones should do attacks, or if a different kind of drone is flown in and doing attacks, the anxiety in the American public is going to go up 25-fold. People are going to be going crazy. They're all going to be shooting at these drones. The drones are running, according to that police pilot and some other testimonies, 600 to 900 feet high when the people are aware of them. Yes?
I've got to run a couple errands. I'll be back in a while.
Okay. So if you're taking a handgun and you're trying to shoot, that's 200 yards to, say, 300 yards on level ground. 99% of the people running around with a gun are not going to be able to hit any kind of target the size of an SUV. If you're trying to shoot up in the air against a moving target, 99.9% of the people are never going to be able to hit it. The amount of people that can hit it in the world with a handgun is probably less than 5. They do exist. I'll be right back. So the chances of somebody tagging a drone with a handgun, which is what the vast majority of armed Americans have when they go outside, is nil, I would say. You're not going to get it, okay? It's moving, it's dark, you're seeing a light that projects, you're not getting a precise location, this kind of thing. Let's say you had a heavy rifle, 30-06, 308, 7mm. What we're talking about is a deer rifle, okay, 150, 180 grain ammo, and you have a scope, a modest scope, 4 to 6, 4 to 8 power, something like that. Now, it's a very hard shot because you're not shooting level, you're shooting up. And when you're shooting something on the ground, I know a lot about guns, okay? When you're doing something on the ground, and you're shooting at a target, this is you and you're trying to hit this. If this is here or here and you're aiming at it, you're still going to hit it. But if it's off to the left or the right, you're going to miss it. But what you don't have to worry about on a land-based target is it going up or down. Okay? So when you're trying to shoot something up in the air, you got to worry about it moving in all different crazy directions, including up and down, and missing it. So there are people that could do it with a good gun. You don't have to have a great gun. A regular Remington 700 or something, but just a decent name brand gun with a decent scope. You might have to hit it, shoot at it a few times. You probably get a hit, and it'll probably break it up and come down. But how many people are walking around with deer rifles? If you try to do it with a 223, an AR-15 type thing, on level ground, the AR-15 is good for about 300 yards, which is probably about as high as these things go. But you're not going to get any kind of decent trajectory with a 55 grain light bullet going up. You're going to have a horrible time, I think. You need to have a type of hunting gun. Let's say we're using 150, 180 grain 7mm that shoots relatively flat, and you had a nice, 4 to 6, 4 to 8 power scope. I think somebody got a pretty decent chance of bringing it down, but we're not seeing that. You could sit there with your pistol and blink at it all day long. You're not going to get anywhere, okay? Now, the drones were able to detect this police helicopter. He said when he got within a mile of it, it shut the lights off and outran the helicopter. In Vietnam, pilots were flying jets very low for years. And once in a blue moon, some person on the ground would shoot a rifle at the plane. And now they probably got a number of hits on the plane itself over the years that didn't do much damage. But every now and then they would damage a plane, bring it down, or hurt the pilot. But it was a rare occurrence, very, very rare. And these pilots had armored seats, so it made it even more difficult to get the pilot. So, this is shooting the drone down is going to require machine guns. Now, if somebody had a 30 or 50 caliber machine gun with a belt of 50 rounds and knew what they were doing and were able to elevate it high enough and started firing, 5 and 10 shot bursts at it, would they bring it down? Well, if they're using iron sights, very difficult. And it's a rare thing to ever see in civilian hands a 50 caliber with iron sights. You know what I'm saying? What about sniper rifles with that? Well, yeah, if the guy's got a good skill set and the thing's not circling and flying here, there, and everywhere, he might tag it. But who the heck is walking around the streets with a 50 caliber Barrett sniper's rifle with a nice scope that's gonna go up on their rooftop and, get the right angle, which might be laying down? These things are not gonna get shot down by civilians. Shotguns. Listen, if you want to go to the store and buy a shotgun and be able to tag a human and take them out at 100 yards, you're going to have to put some devices on your barrel, a choke, special one that's going to condense the shot and let the shot keep it together so it'll go 100 yards, which is 300 feet. Trying to get a shotgun to hit a human at 200 yards, forget it. I had a shotgun once that I modified that would go 100 yards and group like this. So if you had 9 or 12 double-aught bucks, you'd get the guy with, at least 2 or 3, if not 5, and you'd have a lethal kill. Most of these shotguns aren't going to be much good at 60 yards. They're going to be scattered out, And who's to say a double-aught buck pellet is going to take out the drone, It's a 32 caliber pistol bullet, and then trying to get the velocity shooting up in the air with a shotgun is not so simple. Because it loses speed rapidly. Nobody uses shotguns for long range. Now, what about using a slug? Well, if you manage to get your hands on some of the old high-speed slugs they sold 30 years ago, where you could get 1,700 feet per second slugs and 1,700 feet per second double-aught buck. I don't know if slugs were really going that fast. Double-aught buck used to go almost 1,700 feet per second, sometimes more. If you go back about 20 years, they don't sell it anymore because it'll rip through a regular bulletproof vest. I suppose if you poke around, you might find it. You could probably hand load it if you make your own shotgun shells. I think I had some many, many years ago. I'm not sure. But I know they sold it. And it was effective. Now, that might do the job. I don't know. But people aren't going to shoot these things down. They may try to shoot them down soon, but it's going to be very, very difficult. Okay? If you got a full auto machine gun and you have it on some sort of turret where you could pivot it up for anti-aircraft work, which is exactly what this is, and you got a belt with 200-300 rounds, so you could sit there and go brr, 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 brr. Yeah, you're probably going to get it. Who's got that? That's going to deploy it, If you had it on a pickup truck on a mount that spins around and goes up and down, yeah, you'd probably get it. And there are characters that do this, and they may shoot it down one day, I don't know. But you need to have some sophisticated weapon. You're not going to just sit there with your handgun and get it. Okay? It's not like a shotgun bringing down a bird that's going, 30 miles, 40 miles an hour. It's not that. So, I still think this is China. I think they're trying to create fear in America. I think they're doing it. It's their modus operandi. It looks like it's working. Biden is not doing anything about it. The people are getting worried. You got a little more than a month for Trump swearing in. And the kettle was boiling. You don't know it yet. The people don't know the kettle's boiling, but it is. the enemies of the United States with bricks that want to wreck the United States economically so they don't have to deal with them anymore. The United States is not reliably protecting any nation except the UK. That's it. They don't, what, they protect Israel? How? Well, you don't give them enough humanitarian aid, so we're not giving you any more weapons. They don't. They use Israel as a proxy like Ukraine. They don't really protect us. Okay? So, did America go fight Hamas? Did America fight Hezbollah? No, America fought the Houthis. Why? They were attacking the rich elite that owned the maritime ships. That's why they were doing it. Oh, they took a few missiles down headed towards Israel. That they did do, and they can do things to help Israel, and they do from time to time, and they do supply weapons to us, but they're not a reliable partner. Okay, they're just not. You don't know what. That's why Saudi stopped selling oil and natural gas for euros and dollars a few months ago because they're afraid to rely on America to protect them from Iranian proxies. Now, once America gets rid of the Iranian proxies, most notably Yemen, the neighbor to Saudi Arabia will cut it out and go back to the dollar. The UAE joined BRICS and they're not selling on the dollar either, or the euro, natural gas and oil. I know not the dollar, maybe the euro, but I don't think so. Jordan still is, Kuwait does, Bahrain, Qatar does, Oman I think still does. So Saudi doesn't trust America. The Israeli people don't trust America that much anymore, and they don't like them. Not every one of them, they don't like America. Because America threatens us all the time. Well, we're going to cut your weapons off. They're not that happy with it. So anyway, it's creating fear, and it's likely going to get increased. Let's say China, who I believe is doing it, gets bolder, or maybe Iran, but probably China. And they get bolder, and the drones start attacking, and America still does nothing about it. Do you think the people in America are going to go into grievous distress? Panic is what will happen. Panic. I live in Israel. We get attacked all the time. Our government fights back. We see it in the skies. We hear it in the skies. It's still frightening. All the houses here for decades have to have bomb shelters. So you have a place to go hide. In America, what, 1 out of every 300,000 houses has a bomb shelter? Maybe 1 in a million. I mean, come on, who has a bomb shelter? Trump, Biden, Bill Gates, people like that. Nobody has bomb shelters from the general population. So they got no place to hide. Panic. And what does panic result? People are going to want to do something about the Biden administration because they're going to be getting killed if these drones attack, which I believe they will. What if their real purpose is not to attack like you think, but to start fires? Which is where I would go. They could be isolating targets that look combustible, and they don't have to suicide themselves, the drone. They can carry small munitions that will cause fires. Basically, you need to have a combustible liquid gel-like substance that clings to things, and it just drops it on what it wants to cling to, and then when it hits, it has something like a percussion cap or an impact fuse that causes the spark and the flame, and then it starts burning. And a good sized drone like that could carry at least a dozen things like that, or 10, or maybe 20, I don't know. People are going to go nuts. They're going to want to get rid of Biden, don't you think? Or do you think they're just going to shut up and wait for Trump? Well, 50-50. It depends on the intensity of the attacks. When the sleeper agents get deployed, and I'm rather certain they will, they're not going to just go run around the streets killing civilians. They're going to be very worried about the military fortifying itself. They're going to start by attacking the military. It says in Jeremiah 50:51, entire daughter of Babylon military is wiped out. The whole military is wiped out. Okay? That's what happens. It's all gone. It's wiped out. Military gone. All right? They're going to start with the military, then they're going to go with the civilians. But a lot of the foreigners living in America that are not Americans are going to leave because of fear of the sword and go back to their own countries. And we haven't seen that yet, but this could lead to that very easily. The only truth we really have here is the Bible. Biden appears to be with the beast. The beast burns the daughter of Babylon and eats her flesh. So Biden is fitting the category of trying to destroy the United States. That is evidence plain as day with the illegals. You don't have a debate there. It's solid evidence. So the chances are he is working on the side of the beast. And they want to get rid of the old system with the phony churches and, that kind of thing. Yeah, consumer drones don't get anywhere near that speed. The 4 horses, we've covered that many times. I've got some pictures I want to show you regarding Trump. Some of you won't like this, but they're real. Let me find it. I put it on Telegram. Oh, the Syrian embassy in Washington, D.C. is going to open up again under the new Syrian flag with the Al Qaeda ISIS bunch of people that are in there now. I want to show you a few politicians around the world and look at the sign they make with their hands. It's called a triangle. Okay? What you got here are world leaders. And if you look around, Jay-Z, that character makes these signs. Here's a picture of Merkel and Adolf Hitler making these signs. Okay? And there's the Donald, who also makes these signs all the time. All the time, Trump makes that. He never explains in any interview what the heck it means. Okay? It's obviously a hidden occult demonic hand sign to convey a message. And the people in the United States ignore this and they think he's really a good guy, yet he consistently runs around making these hand signs. And why? Why does he do it? Why doesn't he tell us why he's doing it? It doesn't sound good to me. It obviously has some bad meaning to it, or it wouldn't be a secret. So something's wrong with this picture. Here's a young Trump doing it. He did it all the time for years. He's you know. Here he is on Jay Leno doing it on nationwide TV. He does it constantly. It's not an occasional thing he does. Here's another shot of him doing it. You know, I tell people he's one of them, and people think, you know, they hate me. Here's another one with another big host like Jay Leno. He's doing it there too. Here's a close-up of that shot. Here's another shot of Trump doing it. And again. Here's Trump standing next to some person, I don't know who it is, and they're doing it. Here he is again. Here he is again. This is not any biblical sign. It's no good thing. It's not something that believers do. Here he is again. And again. And again. And again. Trump is always doing this in public appearances. Always. I used to watch this when he was president. He's always doing this. Always. Okay? And people are so sure he's going to save them. And the scripture says, a man that trusts a man is cursed. They think Trump's some sort of godly man. What's up with the triangle? People don't want to believe it. So why do people want to look to a man to save them? It's not hard. Because the man to save them, let's use Trump, is not imposing conditions on them, not making them follow his rule book or his law. With Trump, you can worship any god you want or no god, but he's perfectly happy. Okay? You can follow any sexual preference you want. You can lie, he doesn't care. You could do adultery, he doesn't care. You could be drunk, he doesn't care. You could be a deceiver, he doesn't care. You could insult your mother and your father, he doesn't care. You could be a lousy parent, he doesn't care. What does he care about? You obey his law, not God's law, his country's law, and follow the economic plan. Work, retire, and die. That's it. And what do people look forward to the most with Trump? A better economy, right? And to stay the dominant power in the world and push the other countries around. Which all goes back to making money. Which goes back to covetousness and goes back to money's the root of all evil. And that's Trump's message, money. What's Trump's claim to fame? Look how rich I am. You'll never get rich in a government under him or any other elite, but they don't know that. They don't want God to save them because that's conditional. That's why Jeremiah 30:11 and Jeremiah 46:28 say he's going to destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into. The church will never teach you that. And it's associated with the birth pangs, the birth of a nation in a day, Israel. Israel wasn't birthed by the satanic UN in 1948. Don't believe that. It's redemption when that happens. They're not redeemed to the Lord. They don't know the Lord. People are in a lot of trouble with Trump, and they don't see it coming. I can't guarantee you Trump will or will not get inaugurated. I don't know. But I can tell you when the attack on D.C. happens in Jeremiah 50:51, whoever the heck it is in the White House, Biden, Kamala, Trump, whatever, Vance, for that matter, if we're going to speculate, gives his hand, surrenders. Sounds like Biden to me. Oh, you don't have to fight, we give up. That's what the Bible tells us is going to happen, but the people are all going to get killed. It says the people are going to be so scared they're going to stay in their holds, HOLDS. They're not going to come out. They're going to be hiding. With all their guns and everything else, they're going to be hiding. Church doesn't tell you stuff. It's scary. They don't tell you anything. Church just wants you to make sure that if you know who the Messiah is, you're saved. And that's their snare on people. Faith without works is dead. The church doesn't teach that. Let me get back on my notes here. So China could be trying to create a civil overthrow of the government before Trump gets in. Are the drones designed to get Biden to invoke the Emergency Powers Act or something like that? I doubt it. And then use that to stop Trump from being inaugurated. I don't know how that would stop Trump from being inaugurated. I don't think it would work. Biden is no longer president by the end of January 20th. He's not there anymore. Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and other radical Muslim states are not saying anything specific about the drones. They're not accusing America of running a false flag. That's curious. Probably because they don't want you to think that. Why? Because they know what China's up to. And I believe it's most likely China. Yes, it could be Iran instead, or also. China could be on the West Coast, Iran could be on the East Coast, something like that. It's a possibility. Russia too. They don't want you headed down the false flag trail. They want you headed down the trail of an enemy who's going to destroy us. China wants Taiwan, North Korea wants South Korea, Russia wants Ukraine, and Israel wants the whole Middle East. Iran wants the whole Middle East. So does Israel. More of this panic will continue, but if the drones don't start doing some damage, the fear factor is going to wind down. Which may be all there is, and then they try to come up with another tactic, whatever that is. Nothing to do with drones. Why I say China again and again is because China's approach with Taiwan is to make Taiwan scared. We're going to attack you. Look, our warships and planes are there. It shows Taiwan how easy it would be for China to do it. Yet China never does it. You got the same modus operandi with the drones. Look how easy it is for us to do it. Be scared. But we don't do it. The reason they got the lights on these drones is they want people to see them. So to create the fear. It's not just reconnaissance. It may not even be reconnaissance. If you want to conduct reconnaissance, you're going to do it covertly. Because if the people know you recon them, they're going to make changes and modifications. So you wouldn't send a large amount, you'd send one or two, they'd be quiet, they wouldn't have lights. You'd get your intel in the form of photos and videos and then get out of there, hopefully undetected. This is something different. It, it could be recon too, but unlikely. The primary motive here is fear. That's why they hover with the lights on. They want to make sure people see them. I never saw America do a false flag event to make themselves look weak. 9/11 caused terrible loss of quality of life in America with all the laws that came out, all the problems with the airlines that came out. Oh, it's very bad. American false flag operations normally get exposed rather readily. I'm checking my notes here. I don't see any methodology here for Biden to stop Trump from being sworn in. The only thing I can see is letting the enemies of America destroy America before he gets sworn in. Once Trump gets sworn in, the elite got a problem because Trump may try to extract revenge against them. Remember all those criminal cases, impeachments, all kinds of problems, assassination threats. I don't know who did all these things, but Trump probably does. I think where this goes is going to depend heavily on what happens. Now, Israel is still bombing Syria, weapons and facilities belonging to the Bashar Assad Syrian army. But the amount of attacks has gone down drastically. There's a few every day, but not that much. The rebels, the Al Qaeda ISIS rebels that took over Syria, are not mobilizing to do a thing to Israel. Israel's just attacking the weapons freely. There's still chaos in Syria. They're starting to get ready to go after Assad's people to eliminate them. They're just an overly bloodthirsty bunch of head choppers that got a new paint job, but inside it's the same engine. Al Qaeda, ISIS. It's just not a new movement. It's just a repainting of the old movement to make it look better, but it's not better. Now, I don't know who's. Why would the American government recognize this new Syrian government? Isn't that odd? It was a coup d'etat. And the head of this coup d'etat state, well, it's not a coup d'etat, I think, is more precisely the government overthrows the existing government, but you could call it a coup d'etat. And nobody put these people in charge except themselves. No election, no nothing. Yet the United States is going to let them put the new Syrian flag up and recognize them? I don't know. I guess so. I haven't been reading that the Syrian passports are null and void. So the world is sort of playing the game. Oh, this is still Syria. They just got a new leader. But no, this is still Syria, but they just had a revolution and put Al Qaeda and ISIS in place. And why are we recognizing these lunatics? Because it beats Assad. Why did Israel get rid of all the weapons left behind? Because Israel knows there's not much of a threat from these rebels to Israel, but if they had a lot of weapons, there could be. That's very important. The other thing is, I think Israel is well aware that this collection of rebel groups, is about 10 groups hooked together, is very temporary and is not going to survive. And they want to make sure that whoever knocks them out doesn't get Syrian weapons either. Iran and Iraq could come in and knock them out. I don't know. Russia seems to be out of the picture. Russia's just leaving. That's it. They're not. They cut a deal with the rebels running Syria to let them evacuate and get their weapons and other critical things off out of Syria by ship and by plane, and then the Russians are going to leave entirely. And Putin probably threatened the Russians with extensive bombing raids if they didn't let this happen. So they let it happen. I don't see Putin coming back. I don't see Iran and Iraq attacking either. That's the Arab wish. The pro-terrorist Muslim social media are all talking about. You know, Iran and Iraq are going to come with an army of 100,000. Well, I'm not so sure. Okay. The big question we're hearing in the Middle East is who's next? And the two most likely candidates are Jordan, which in the Bible is Ammon and Moab, and Iraq. I don't know who comes next. We could look at Jordan's military, which will help a little bit. See, they're probably working on a premise that the Jordanian government's going to overthrow the king, which is my premise also. And then Jordan will get radicalized. The entire country. Well, right now it's only part radicalized. Okay. Netanyahu's working on public announcements like on TV and radio, social media that are designed to get the people of Iran to rise up against the country. I'm trying to look for global firepower, and I like to use them. There's probably a lot of reasonably good sources for this, but I'm digging for the link. Let me try to search another way. So why can't I find this? There it is. I got it now. Okay. Let's take a look. This isn't that helpful. Well, I got a different format here. Let me see if I could figure out this format. Oh, I think I know how to do it. There we go. Oh, it's an ad. That's confusing me. Okay. Oh, they changed their format. They're awful. Let me get a different source. You can't use them anymore. Global firepower is all screwed up. Comparison between Jordan and Israel. Let's see if I could make this load. All right, manpower. Let's see if I can get this to open up. And it's not working. Let's try. Boy, global firepower stinks. Let's try another one. They used to be great. They got it all messed up now. I think the CIA has something similar too, but anything with the CIA, can you trust it, you know? I think they're probably not making money and they're trying to get people to buy the service or something. Let's see if Wikipedia has anything worthwhile. give me the history of the army and all garbage like that. Like I'm writing a college paper. Let's see what the CIA says. At least they're not going to try to hit you with ads. I don't know what to do. I can't get any good military information anymore. I relied on global firepower for years, and now they're all botched up. CIA's giving me a lot of information that doesn't help me, which is typical bureaucracy. Now, and it's worthless. Well, okay, maybe I got it from this other source. Let's see. Worthless. So I guess the internet is trying to stop us from getting summaries of military strength of different countries. They're getting that information taken off. This actually might help. I think their military is only about 70,000, which is the size of the rebels, but they picked up ISIS and Al Qaeda, so they're probably bigger now. Well, I'm going to give up on that. It's too time consuming. I'll have to dig out another source, but they're not very powerful. They got tanks, they got planes, they got artillery, they got missile launchers, they got takedown missiles to bring down air attacks. But the king is very unstable and he could very likely be overthrown. Iraq doesn't have that stability problem. They've got a lot of Iranian-backed militia there. They have people that fled Syria there. They're probably going to be getting lots of weapons already from Iran to defend their border. Iran doesn't want to see Iraq go down because then they're next. So the rebels, they need money. This is what nobody's talking to you about. Bashar Assad fleeced the cash register of Syria when he left. They don't have any money. I don't know what they're going to do for money. America's sitting on their oil, letting the American oil companies profit off of protecting it with their military bases. What are they going to do for money? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know who's going to come in and give them sophisticated weapons. Russia for what? What's Russia's motive here? What does Russia get out of it? I don't think anything. Unless they're going to let Russia come in and set up shop again. But they can't. Russia's not a Muslim state. And they can't trust Russia. And Russia bombed them in the early days of the fighting. So they're not going for Russia. They hate Iran. They hate Iraq. They hate Yemen, Hamas, and Hezbollah. So who's going to help them? America and Israel don't need them anymore. They serve their purpose. Bashar Assad's out. Why do they need this group for? They're a liability. How does it go? I don't know. I don't think I don't see any signs of Iran moving in on Syria. Turkey moved in on Syria. Israel, America's there and intends to stay, and Israel does. And Syria is greatly divided, and it looks like the rebels are there for now, but I'm pretty sure they're going to get removed when they start their reign of terror on the people. And they will start a reign of terror because they got people in there that they perceive to be enemies against their version of the Islamic religion and against their political posture. They got to get rid of people, like dead, get rid of, or bury them in an underground prison or something like that for the rest of their life. So there's a lot of problems they have. And if Turkey, America, and Israel decide to get rid of these rebels, who's going to take over? Well, one way to do it is to just break the country up. America puts the Kurds in charge of the oil field land and supports them till they get going. Turkey puts his rebel group in charge of the buffer zone. And Israel slices a big piece of land going all the way up to, but not including Damascus, or maybe including Damascus. And that's Israel. Now, the rest of it, the rebels can have. But they're going to go bankrupt. Turkey's taking the land between Syria and Turkey. Israel's taking the land that they see as a threat between Syria and Israel. And America's taking the land that has the oil. The rest of it they don't care about. That we could see happening already. I think that's what's going to happen. This is crazy what's going on in the world. We're getting unexpected turns, twisting and turning, like we said, And I think we're getting closer and closer. In all this fighting since October 7th, this is the first time I've seen Israel grab land. We didn't grab land in Gaza. We're there fighting and protecting them from pushing into Israel. We didn't grab land in Lebanon. We haven't said this is our buffer zone, we're running it now. We haven't said down in Gaza, this is our buffer zone, we're running it. But now Israel's saying, this is our buffer zone in Syria and we're here. And when are they going to leave? Well, Netanyahu said they're there for eternity. He doesn't talk like that anymore. I'm sure Biden and other people told him to cut that stuff out. But this is meaning to me we're getting closer and closer to redemption. That's what it means to me. Why would people ask me if I've seen The Sopranos? Why would they? I don't even understand people like that. Okay. Let me look up scripture here for a minute. Let's read Isaiah 66. Thus saith Jehovah, the heaven is my throne, and the earth my footstool. Where is the house that you built unto me, and where is the place of my rest? For all those things hath my hand made, and all those things have been, saith Jehovah. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word. He that killeth an ox is as if he slew a man. He that sacrificeth a lamb, as if he cut off a dog's neck. He that offereth an oblation, as if he offered swine's blood. He that burneth incense, as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delighteth in their abominations. That's most of the world. I also will choose their delusions. You see, God sends them delusions, okay? And I will bring their fears upon them. Because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear. But they did evil before my eyes, and chose that in which I delighted not. Hear the word of Jehovah, you that tremble at his word. Your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let Jehovah be glorified, but he shall appear to your joy. Now, it didn't say he's going to return to earth and with New Jerusalem, your joy. The appear, you see, the appearing of the Son and the Son of Man in the clouds is separate from his return to earth, and the church never teaches this. When he appears, that's the beginning of the year of redemption. That's when the everlasting life comes to those that believe. Let the Lord and Israel, and you read in Zechariah 12:10, before they look upon the one whom they appears, he pours his spirit out on those in Jerusalem and the house of David. And, they don't get any of this. John 6:40 says that when you see him, you'll have everlasting life, which doesn't mean you can't die. It means you'll live like they did before the flood, only longer. They used to live almost 1,000 years. You'll probably live a lot longer, but you'll get into New Jerusalem before then, eat the tree of life, drink of the water of life, and then there's no death in New Jerusalem. But the appearing is not the same thing as the return to earth, right? Try to convince the church that. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of Jehovah that rendereth recompense to his enemies. Therefore, recompense, year of recompenses. Therefore, she travaileth, she brought forth before her pain came. She was delivered of a man child. Who hath heard of such a thing? Who hath heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? That didn't happen with the UN. To bring forth is the next great exodus that starts at the day of redemption. Be made to, that's how I seem to see it, bring forth, and now the exodus out of the daughter of Babylon may come before. They may not all be exodusing or go on the exodus at the same time, but be made to bring forth in one day, or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travaileth, she brought forth her children. The travaileth is the birth pangs of giving birth. The baby's crowned, the water broke, the cervix dilated. And you see that with the siege in Jerusalem in Zechariah 12. That's the last of the birth pangs, which is really the travail, the actual birthing process. And then with the appearing of Yeshua in the clouds, and they see him and they get changed, and they're young, they jump out like a calf from the stall. In Malachi 4, you read that clear as day. That's when the nation's born in a day, redeemed, returned to you, Jehovah. For I bring to the birth, shall I bring to the birth, and not cause to bring forth, saith Jehovah? Shall I cause to bring forth, and shut the womb, saith thy God? Rejoice you with Jerusalem, and be glad with her, all you that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all you that mourn for her, that you may suck and be satisfied with the breasts of her consolations, that you may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the heathen like a flowing stream. Then shall you suck, you shall be borne upon her sides and dangled upon her knees. Jerusalem. This is an allegory, of course. Allegorical. As one whom her mother comforteth, so will I comfort you, and you shall be comforted in Jerusalem. Not Washington, D.C., not Rome, not London, not Moscow, in Jerusalem. And when you see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb. And the hand of Jehovah, that should be Yod, is that what it is? Yod, yeah, hand of Jehovah. Shall be known towards his servants, and his anger towards his enemies. For behold, Jehovah will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. They that sanctify them. Now that's not Gog and Magog. At the end of Gog and Magog, he has a sacrifice for the birds and the beasts, I believe, or it's just the birds. I think it's both. And they come and eat the dead bodies, and that's a blood sacrifice, and he calls it his sacrifice for them. And that's probably when the animals will no longer eat each other. So he's going to do the Jeremiah 30:11 by the sword and by fire. It says, behold, Jehovah will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh. Does it really say plead? No. They're throwing you off with this. The word is shafat, and it means to judge them or govern them. To judge them. They get judged. They get cut off. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the garden behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith Jehovah. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations. I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. All the heathens is what it's saying, not nations. Heathen nations. All the heathens, the goyim. What glory is this? The glory of the God of Israel. The angel that God put his name in Exodus 20, verse 23. It's Michael, who was with Moses and Aaron and the children of Israel in the wilderness. And he's going to be residing in the next temple, and they'll see his glory. I will set a sign, probably when he comes to the temple, and I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pul, Lud, and that draw the bow, in Tubal and Yavin, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the heathen. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Jehovah. You see, when Gog and Magog happens, they're already back. When Zechariah 12 happens, they're not back. They come back right after. And they shall bring all your brethren as an offering unto Jehovah out of all nations, even upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain, Jerusalem. That's Mount Zion. That'll be restored by the Lord. Saith Jehovah, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel unto the house of the Lord. He's calling it the house, the bite, the house, because the glory of God lives there. It's a temple, and it's also his house. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith Jehovah. I will also take them for priests, for Kohanim, and for Levites, saith Jehovah. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith Jehovah, so shall your seed and your name remain. Now, he's not saying at this time he's doing the new heaven and the new earth. He does that at the close of the 70 years when Gog and Magog is over. That's the new heaven and the new earth. And which is probably very close in time to the tribulation ending. It could be the tribulation runs parallel to Gog and Magog. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Jehovah. And they shall go forth and look upon carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. They shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abomination unto all flesh. Well, that's the fate of his enemies. And you ever hear the church people teach this? No. They don't teach much. Let's see what's going on in the chat. The one that said Yahweh, if you're interested, the correct pronunciation is Jehovah. Yud He Vav He. It's not Yahweh. See, Jehovah has meaning in Hebrew. Yahweh doesn't. Okay? That's the reality of it. Yeshua's name is Yeshua. Yesha means salvation. Yeshua is like the giver or provider of salvation. Yahweh Sharuga Baga Boogle, that some of them say is his name, means nothing. It has no meaning in Hebrew. There's no J in the Hebrew alphabet. It's impossible for the Messiah's name to be Jesus or for God's name to be Jehovah. It doesn't exist in Hebrew. So it's a fiction. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of news in Israel. The only thing that's really going on, we're getting into a few skirmishes in Gaza, every once in a while in Lebanon, very minor, and we're bombing a few places, not that many, but some every day in Syria, but we're going to run out of targets. There's not going to be any military targets left. So it's relatively calm and people are relaxed. I heard some big explosion and felt it. It scared the dog yesterday, but it was from Syria, South Syria. And we used to hear that all the time, like 8 years ago and stuff. It's the same thing. You know, didn't rattle. I mean, the dog didn't like it at all, but it didn't bother us. It's way different when this stuff's in Israel. So it's rather nice. It's not going to last forever because we got to get to Zechariah 12. But it is pretty interesting. So the two witnesses are going to appear. You see it in Malachi 3, Malachi 4, which is going to happen any day, any week, maybe a few short months, not a year or anything like that. And the church doesn't teach that. And, you know, we're just waiting and watching, you know. The Israeli people in general have no concept of the two witnesses whatsoever. No idea. No idea. And believe me, the church is about to fall apart. As people realize what they've been teaching them is a lie and it's unraveling on them at a rapid rate, they're going to walk away from the churches. Not all, but some. Some are the elect, and most aren't. So I don't have a tremendous amount of news. It's not coming through. So all I can tell you is, I'm spending a lot of time trying to figure out this drone thing because it could be leading to the destruction of the daughter of Babylon. These things can be designed to create fire. It's easy. You just take a little container of a combustible liquid or gel, have a timer fuse in there, or somehow ignite it, and drop it over the target. It hits, it spreads, it causes fires. It's not hard to do it. Not hard. Okay, so I guess that's what I got today. I don't have a lot of exciting news, but the drones are exciting. You gotta not get deconditioned to it. It could be the time for the daughter of Babylon to go down, which means it's time to get out of there and come to Israel. It could be starting right away. God may not want Trump to get in. I don't know what's going to happen yet. I don't know, but it could be this could be the start of it. Then we'll be eating falafel in Israel. So I'm putting a lot of time into it. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm praying about it. I'm trying to read all the news I can get about it. And I gave you my best thoughts right now. I don't think it's something that should just be ignored. Okay? We're getting down to the wire. Something's going to happen. Daughter of Babylon's going to go. And we know that. It's not going to be around when we're in redemption. It'll be gone. We're right about that time. Before that, I guess. So please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. Pray for our finances. That needs work. Pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues, that they be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for better videos. Pray for my eyes and my jaw. My jaw still goes in and out every now and then, and pray for my eyesight. Appreciate it, and pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And if things break, I'll be doing emergency live streams, okay? And feel free to report the hecklers to YouTube and give them some tossed salad. And I'm out, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach.